Welcome. This is the Drupal usability meeting for April 18th, 2025. I'm Benji Fisher, sharing my screen and moderating. And also present are Thomas Howell and Simo Helstein. And I don't have the right Zoom window open, so I can't see whether anyone else has joined. Give me a second. Here we go. Yes, just the three of us so far. Um, I think we agreed today to go back to this issue. For the sake of the recording, the number is 332-5034, providing additional methods of navigating the admin interface. And I have installed a brand new, fresh copy of Drupal CMS. Um, Let me just make sure that the alternative URL also works. So this is what I shared in the Zoom chat. Yes. Um, so the last time we looked at this issue, we were talking about um, the task, a typical task of a content editor would be to have an existing site and be tasked with updating some text on some page. And so we looked at the admin UI with that in mind. And so today I'd like to look at a different sort of task, a site building task rather than a content editing task. So if we install Drupal CMS and let's agree on which of these various recipes to apply. What is some sort of site building task that we might want to do after initial installation? Any ideas?
I think permissions for users, so creating users, like what is allowed for creating users. So is it can that like anonymous initiate creating a user account? That's something that needs to be done early on. Checking that.
Okay. So
And
shall we start with a blog and then add an additional user and an additional role and permissions related to that role? Or would one of these other starting points be better for that exercise?
News might make sense to me because could see more people wanting to be involved in a news, like some news tool like CNN.
Okay. Frankly, I'm not familiar with these various starting points. So whatever we do will be a learning opportunity for me at least. So shall we just install news and get started?
Yes, please.
Okay. Drupal usability news, the name of my site. Um, I very rarely install Drupal through the admin UI, so it's a useful exercise to remind me of that step. I hope we don't run into problems because of the fake email address.
I haven't had a problem with it with I guess Drupal 11. I haven't tested Drupal CMS yet.
All right. So I notice I've heard of the dashboard initiative, but I'm not sure I've really looked at the dashboard on a freshly installed site before. Um, so we have some recent content that's added by the recipe. Um, Privacy policy, a homepage, um, some marketing for Drupal CMS. Let's just have a quick look at this page. Um, I guess it's some sort of news listing page. And oh yes, I remember there's some issue about issues not loading the first time. And if I reload the page, I get the image loaded. Um, so getting back to the dashboard, um, so there's already these top tasks. Is the user management one of them?
And there is invite users to collaborate.
Okay. And that looks like what we were looking for, doesn't it? Um, let me uncheck the notify box just so we don't get any errors from trying to send to example.com. Um, and let me just use your username as your password. Uh, I will certainly delete this site shortly after the meeting. I always love the suggestion for improving your password security to make it different from your username. Um, and on the other hand, I will follow my usual practice of not assigning any additional roles until the user has logged in. Um, I will let you worry about your time zone, but Simo, if you have the link in the chat, you can access the site and log in, and then mine at example.com. Account. Oh, did I give a password to that account?
No, you did not.
Yes, you
No,
did.
for World Line
Oh,
Mine, there was nothing in
oh
there.
yeah, that one you did.
I'm going to try and log in. Yeah, it requires a password, so
Funny, I'm surprised it let me submit the form without that.
I was also shocked that that worked. I wasn't expecting it.
Okay.
I logged in. I am getting something that just says dashboard, and the site looks painful. So authentication without role is unfun.
So that is a useful observation. Um, let's see, is there an easy way guess yes. I can, since I use Firefox containers, I can open a new tab in some other container, and then I can open the page, and I can, so that's not so bad. It has some sample content, and I can log in as either of you. I guess I still have Worldline mine. Oh, no, I don't. All right, it's sort of empty. Um,
I suspect you need rights to have access to whatever the dashboard's building.
right. So I started at my dashboard, and I had this convenient link to invite new people. And I don't know, once you're logged in, is it clear how to modify your username? Or I probably haven't given you permission to modify your username, have I?
Yeah.
Um,
Let me see. I'll test.
No, we can only change email,
so
password, and time zone.
as an experienced Drupal user, I know how to do that. I can go to the permissions page and look at what roles have permissions. Um, so administer users, cancel own account, change username, view user email addresses, and view user information. Um, that's funny. I claim to be an experienced Drupal user, but I thought there was permission to change your password,
You
and there
can,
just doesn't seem to
That
be.
that we can do.
yeah,
Okay.
not
Yeah.
name, username, but yes, password.
Okay. So just for practice, I'll ask the two of you to change your passwords. Um,
I Something I'm surprised by. I don't think it applies here, but I didn't realize that Drupal still was requiring that the user account be the email address because that's tends to be non-unique. And at least in my experience, it's not best practice to use an email address because people can have a work account somewhere, they leave, they need to change their email address, but that's not something you can do if that's the key to your account.
oh, it looks to me as though your
Oh, you can.
email address and username are separate.
Oh,
I think you can log in with either one of them. I remember in Drupal 7 using the login toboggan module to add that functionality, and I think there's some module included in Drupal CMS that lets you log in with your email address.
and it looks like you can edit both, uh, at least looking at that.
So anyway, I've created the two users. I'm trying to follow best practices, despite giving you these horribly insecure usernames. I'm trying to follow best practices of confirming that you've logged in and accessed your account before giving you additional permissions. And I guess I have this breadcrumb, which I used to get to the listing of users. I wonder if I went back to my dashboard. Does back to site take me back to the dashboard? I guess the navigation menu does take me back to the dashboard. Back to the site just takes me to the home page. Which has some sort of banner icon. Oh, I have a teapot a lot like that. It has this banner image and then it has the sample news item. If I go back to my dashboard, I have this link that I've already used to invite users to collaborate, but I don't have a direct link to user management. I do have, oh, I guess I have the people link as well as um, the breadcrumb from the user ad form. Um, so strangely, don't have I don't have the breadcrumb here when I'm editing a particular user. And this, of course, is something we've thought about a lot, right? Like when we were talking about putting content blocks under the content menu rather than the structure menu. We also thought about breadcrumbs and URLs and such. And since the URL is user/3 rather than people/3, we don't by default get a breadcrumb to admin people. I guess it would
Yeah,
have to
but
be admin people 3.
but I can see that there is that destination parameter, and I think I'm wondering in what scenario the destination parameter is different from the assumed breadcrumb.
Um, so I think that by default, um, if you don't override it, submitting a form will take you back to the same form. The destination parameter is added somewhere. I don't think the destination parameter necessarily has any connection to the breadcrumbs. Maybe I don't understand your question.
Yeah, I'm thinking that because if you were on the content listing and you click edit, then your destination is back to the content list. If you're on the people list, then you click edit, then your destination is back to the people list. So that kind of feels to me that it's something that the person would expect to have as a breadcrumb.
So it is the same pattern. You have a listing page, whether it's the content listing page or the user listing page. When you edit something from that page, you get the destination parameter to take you back. Um, so it's sort of the original idea of breadcrumbs, right? Comes from the story of Hansel and Gretel, that it's the breadcrumbs are supposed to take you back where you've been, although they're almost universally now used to mimic the menu structure or the URL structure. So a hierarchical structure rather than the actual path you've taken. But the destination parameter um, does in many cases take you back to where you actually were. But
Speaking about that, I noticed something, Benji.
yeah,
Um, when you first log in as just the base authenticated user, it takes you to a dashboard page that is empty. However, once you leave that page, you can't get back to it. So if you navigate to home, there's no way to get back to that dashboard page. Oh, you're not logged in.
I'm not.
Yeah, see in the upper right hand corner it says login.
Oh,
That was weird.
you're right. So I guess I can no longer log in as you because you've changed your.
I changed it back.
Oh, you changed it back. Okay.
Yeah, no, I tested things, but that was it.
Okay. So now
So
I'm logged in again as you. I go home and I no longer can get to the empty dashboard page.
yeah, it's just an unexpected behavior. That's all.
So, so anyway, as the admin, um, yeah, I have both this top tasks in my dashboard, and then I have the navigation menu, and the navigation menu at least gives me a way to manage people. And at this point, what I want to do is, how many roles do I have? Maybe Thomas, I can give you the content editor role, and Simo, I can give the administrator role. Um, all I really have to go on is the names of those roles. There isn't even a description attached to the listing of roles, um, which of course is an issue we've talked about not that long ago. Go ahead.
I noticed when you were looking at the permissions, it didn't look like content and administrator, I'm sorry, content and authenticated had a whole lot of permissions given to them that seemed to be very unopinionated, which is okay. However, also very bare bones. For instance, when you looked at changing your username and stuff like that, there were just very few things selected. And I'm curious um, if there are significantly more permissions given to like I don't know if this is the same as base Drupal. Like is this something that we're inheriting from the current versions of Drupal, like 10 or 11, or is this something that um, we have an opinion about being unopinionated, and that's why the content editor may have different permissions? It just seemed empty to me. That's all.
Right. So what permissions would you expect a content editor to have? I mean, and what permissions would you expect an authenticated user to have? I think by default, authenticated user has very few permissions. Content editor should have some permissions related probably to the node module. What? I thought I could filter on the module name, but I guess permission name. Um, so a content editor has permissions to edit any basic page or news item, um, can create and edit URL aliases. Um, I have a feeling that these are the permissions inherited from the standard recipe, which is based on the standard profile. So I think it's the same permissions as the standard profile. You can, as a content editor, you can also edit various media types.
But like the content blocks, you can't. And this is all okay. It's more an observation, because what I'm thinking is that if you your assumption is correct, and I agree with it. Um, It means that the permissions that content editor getting is based upon standard, but we're adding in a bunch of additional modules with CMS, and those may not necessarily have been configured with any given set of permissions. So, and there's no problem with this. It's not a criticism, it's just an observation. And as a new user, permissions, new administrator, I should say, or new site builder, permissions is one of the most daunting things to manage and deal with.
Right.
Because you have to, you're able to do all these things, and unless you are used to a workflow where you log into a separate browser or a separate window or a separate machine to also be a content editor, context switching between what your potential new folks can do versus you is highly confusing. And so as an administrator coming into the admin dashboard, anything to improve making it visible what you need to do, because it's just not there. Like it's not making it really front and center, and even people itself over to the left doesn't make it clear that permissions is a big thing, because you don't have an arrow, you don't have like the additional submenus under people. It's kind of treating this as unimportant. But my experience in having recently built a site again with users is that it can be very confusing for people, because they come in and like, you said you gave me an account and I can't do anything. You're like, okay. And you're trying to figure out why they can't do something. And that's a key aspect of being an administrator of a site.
For me, it's actually something that I notice I'm doing, that when I'm setting up a site, a new site, I'm using admin menu. But then when I give it to the end users, then I switch to navigation. So that's kind of that's one of the reasons that kind of that it's a bit like that, things like that, not so much about people in the menu.
Okay, so we've identified a problem, that it's not obvious that you need to grant permissions. It's not obvious how to get there. And a couple of different approaches would be, one, to add something to the dashboard. If you have permission to manage users, then add something to the dashboard for granting permissions. So there's already this invite users to collaborate, but we could also add a separate link to manage permissions. And another sort of less intrusive solution that Thomas suggested would be simply to add items under the people menu, so that in the navigation menu, you'd have some visual indication that there are child items, especially permissions.
If I had a new software I don't know how to use, and I would want to configure permissions, then I would use that search, like that go to search, and then type in security.
Oops.
Yeah, typing in permissions would maybe get you somewhere, but typing in security doesn't give you anything with Drupal CMS.
Or at least doesn't give you anything related to permissions. User interface, coffee, breadcrumb, settings, navigation blocks.
Yeah.
Try people.
If you type in permissions, it only gives you performance.
So, sorry, you said if you type in permissions?
Yeah, it only shows at PER, it shows performance, but with permissions, you don't get anything.
Okay.
And if you like confirm this and press enter,
Then I just stay wherever I am, which is confusing because I'm currently on the people page. If I go back to my dashboard and
yeah,
type
on
permission,
yeah on my Chrome, for some reasons, when I type in permissions and I press enter on that, then it takes me to performance.
right? That just happened to me too.
Yeah.
I think it might depend on how quickly you type. Pause, 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 pause. If I hit enter now, will I still go to performance? Yes, I do. That's odd. Um,
It's probably matching on the only thing the last time it had a match.
I guess
So
so.
th I would note that this does solve a lot of problems of like the standard install.
What are you thinking of?
Oh, just the dashboard. Like I like a lot of these improvements. It is more findable. Like we are finding things easier than if we just did a standard install. So I'm trying to make certain I'm lavishing praise because I think that we're looking for additional improvements. But this is superior to what I had to experience without this UI, without the addition of how this is set up. Which is important to note. Like I'm assuming that then this entire conversation about administration is solely about the CMS and not about Drupal at large with the other profiles or recipes.
Okay. Although, yeah, I'm interested in both questions, like how well is Drupal CMS doing? And yeah, it's doing pretty well, but it's still in early iterations, and we can hope to make further improvements. And also Drupal core. Um, if I if I'm a new if I'm building a new site, you know, what does Drupal core tell me about the basic tasks I want to do? And some of these things, like the fact that we can't get to the permissions page through the search, that would be a question of how the coffee module works, I believe. I think that's the coffee module.
Yeah, it
Um,
is.
Adding child menu items under people, that's something that would be in the core navigation module.
Agreed.
Although I think a recipe could also add to the people menu, can't it? Um,
I would note, and this is probably um, something I say too frequently, I still find some of the Drupalisms like permissions and how, like Simo pointed out, in a new piece of software, he would look for security. And so that may touch on the with the go to or coffee module. Um, it might be important to think about synonyms for words that even if Drupal doesn't use them, maybe it's a way that if you look for security, it points you to permissions. I don't know if
um,
that fits the model or not.
I wonder if that's something more appropriate for the search functionality provided by the coffee module, or if that's something that's more appropriate for the dashboard. Um, so what about this list of top tasks? Um,
um, I believe that this is where the recipe matters. The top tasks should change, and they may change because we didn't try another recipe yet. But like as an administrator of a larger site, creating content is almost never the first thing that I do, because it's all about managing the site and not being a content creator as the admin. For smaller sites or a personal blog, creating content is the top task that I would do. So for me, the recipe is contextual, meaning what is the opinionated um, choice I make by going with something, and how do I then pick that recipe, knowing that, hey, this is going to be something that prioritizes me not being an administrator so much as having all the tasks to create a blog, versus, hey, this is something where I am primarily a large site with many users, and so it highlights the administrative tasks of administering the site. And that would also be role based. So if I logged in as a content creator, my top task would be create content. Whereas if I log in as an admin, and so I guess those are two different aspects. I'd view it as potentially recipe, or those choices that we made, and I'd view it potentially as something that is role based. You want different top tasks depending on your role.
So here, I gave you the content editor role. You and I'm logged in as you. Um, but
No
you know,
dashboard.
no dashboard. I also don't have any indication of who I'm logged in as. So I guess I have my account, so I
This,
can see I am logged in as you. Yes.
yeah, I was thinking that there was something wrong with that view because it didn't show that menu. And here is something I noticed, which is sometimes confusing. When you click that edit next to that coffee, go to, when you click on edit, you get this uh, kind of this edit, what's it, contextual menus. And this is a little bit confusing sometimes trying to explain, like trying to guide uh, people with different roles. Because if you uh, go log in as administrator, then you have a different set of uh, those edit icons.
So let's see.
So
From
there is
the
no indicate. No, it's not indicated that those appear in different places depending on which permissions you have. So this.
so first of all, I can't easily get to my account from a random admin page, but I can easily get there from from an admin page. And when as an administrator, if I click edit, I get a lot more things that I'm able to edit than I do as a content editor. So do you see that as a problem, Simo?
Yeah, because I'm thinking it should be somewhere noted that this is something that comes up trying to instruct other users that what they see. So trying to see what they see on the screen, like recording guides or stuff like that. So I was thinking that it's it should be. I don't know where it's mentioned that what those do, but yeah, it's maybe it's just you need to learn. It's not so hard. When you notice it, you learn it. But about this feature, uh, when you click on that, go to the front page of the site.
As the admin user?
Yeah, and then click on the contextual edit for the listing item in the bottom.
This
On
one
the no, that's the. I think that's the. Click on that image.
here.
Yeah. So there's some problems with that, with the like the layers, how it's built.
Yeah, I seem to have not edited that page. I clicked on the pencil icon,
Yeah.
and that just seems broken.
Yeah.
So that's not a question of design. That's a question of fixing a bug. So this link works, but this pencil icon doesn't.
Yeah.
And this one lets me edit the view. And this one lets me edit the node.
And then some of those let you configure blocks.
So I can edit the menu or I think this is a menu block. No, this is the tabs, primary tabs. Um, and this is a menu block.
And
This is
on my
another menu
account,
block.
yeah, my account, you can also edit the title block.
I'm sorry, the title block.
Yeah. When you go to my account, page title, configure your like what the one that shows the username, that block.
Chose this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you could accidentally from my account with that edit functionality, you could accidentally remove the page title block that is used with all the content. So this is I think a little bit too powerful for a new user.
This will remove the block placement. You'll need to place it again in order to undo this action. So at least that's more information than the standard message. This action cannot be undone. It's kind of frustrating that this message gets truncated because it's not clear how much I'm removing it from. If I go ahead and remove it, then it's gone from the admin page. Is it also gone from this page? Yes. The title block is just gone. So we have about 10 minutes left. Anything else you'd like to look at? Should we try a new task? Should we summarize the things we've noticed?
I would just like to point out that behaviorally, um, I would like to if I were building a site, would like the content editor to come with a dashboard built in, because to me that is the main use case of like a multi-user website, is the content editing, and the fact that it didn't come with a dashboard built in was surprising. Yeah, that's it. For me, that's the main improvement that I'd want to see.
So it seems to me that here I am logged in as you, as the content editor. So now I do
Oh,
see the navigation menu,
there is a dashboard button up there. What happens when you press the dashboard? I didn't see that before. Upper left-hand corner.
right? And maybe there's a caching issue because I thought that at first when I was on the front end pages, I didn't see the navigation menu. But now that I see the navigation menu, I do go to the dashboard,
Okay.
and the top tasks
Yep.
are filtered.
I won. So thank you. You don't have to investigate further. I just didn't notice the dashboard button. That's where I'd want to land when I log in, and I'm assuming it does, and maybe there's a caching issue, as you pointed out.
By the way, I restored the page title block So
Thank you.
it will return automatically. Yeah.
There we go. Um, so, so one thing I wonder is whether someone who has a lot of permissions should have a more granular list of tasks. Um, so actually, let me edit my own account. So as the administrator, I just want to see what will happen. So of course, I won't get any new permissions as a content editor. I'm already administrator, so I have all permissions. But I wonder whether that will give me different tasks, and it doesn't seem to make any difference. And I kind of think it would be a good idea to have top tasks per role, and then if I have multiple roles, um, give me top tasks as a content editor, top tasks as an administrator. Although I guess that's maybe more complicated than it sounds. Like if I am the administrator and I have all permissions, but I'm not also a content editor, then which uh, which tasks would I see?
It could be also that the similar kind of feature that, let's say, Facebook has, that you have this place where you look at your own profile and you see it. You can click on view as a specific person or view as a specific role. So it's like a limited version of Masquerade where you can see as a specific user the view, but if you could kind of toggle between different user roles you yourself have, so that, but it's not something that would be kind of a default option usually, I think.
I think administrator would be a potentially special role in that you might have to think about what gets presented strictly to administrator, but I would having a block that's like top administrative tasks versus top editing tasks would be helpful conceptually.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And the more that I think about it, so this is clearly a curated list. It's not automatically generated from the permissions I have. And given that it's a curated list, if I had a curated list for each role, and then as you say, administrator is a very special role, it will have um, all of those curated lists on its dashboard. And if you're not an administrator, then whatever roles you'll have a task list for each of those roles. I think that would be an improvement to the dashboard module, or perhaps an improvement to the recipe using the dashboard module that gets included in Drupal CMS.
And I think you can easily remove those blocks. So if for whatever reason you're like, I don't want these extra top tasks cluttering my desktop or my dashboard, then you just remove those blocks by editing the layout, I'd assume. Yeah. But you want to start with more and then subtract. Um, but I think like as administrator, I'd make the admin tasks float to the top of everything for me. But again, that's just an opinion and it may be different for different situations. Like a single user website, administration is potentially a lot less important.
I think that top tasks is maybe also a little bit of example that you can add your own links there. but from the preset selection, I find it a little bit confusing to have choose recommended add-ons and browse modules, because kind of I had to go and look what does it mean to click like choose recommended add-ons, because I would have assumed it means modules by different name, but that's
Okay, so now we're down to a little less than 5 minutes. So let's summarize. So we talked about on the new site, we have this link to invite users, but we don't have anything about permissions. Permissions are really complicated and really important, so we should make that more findable. One option would be to add a link here. One option would be to add uh, child items under people in the navigation menu. We talked about the dashboard and having tasks per role. What else did we talk about?
that coffee module doesn't find permissions.
Right. And we also asked whether something like security is something that should be findable through the coffee module or through the dashboard or both. So some of these ideas go together, and if we have the separate task lists per role, then there could be an admin tasks, which would include security, and that would be separated from the content editor tasks, which would include things like create content. I guess there's links. Oh, edit top tasks. Do I have that as administrator? Yes, of course. Anything else?
Nothing that I can think of. Thank you.
Okay. So I will add a comment to the issue. Of course, you're free to go ahead and do that yourselves in either order, before or after me. But I think that's about it for today.
Yeah, maybe one more thing. Refresh the page and let's see if the top tasks is per role or per user. Yes, it's per role. I added a new task.
Yes, right at the top, I see.
So that might be something that would be useful to have tasks for individual user. But yeah, maybe there is some way.
Yeah, and that gets back to another thing we talked about, which is the difficulty that the administrator sees something different from the less privileged user. And that's always a challenge when you're trying to help someone accomplish a task, that you're not seeing the same thing they are. And so whether it's top tasks per role or per user is related to that. So I think it's probably it would be a good thing to clarify that this is top tasks for a particular role. And then I think if you want to add your own task list, you can probably do that by adding a block. But now I'm starting down a rabbit hole that we clearly don't have time for, and we are at time. So let's end it there, and maybe we can go deeper into this next time.
Thanks.
Thank you both.
Have a nice weekend.
You too.